There you going, guys. Welcome back to Long Horse Junction. Something a bit different for you today. This is my 67 or 1967 Valiant. I've had this for actually quite a few years, but I haven't had it in my possession for a while. It's been in storage, but at my parents' place. But they're actually moving house shortly, and where my dad's moving to, or where my mum and dad are moving to, they haven't got a big shed there at the moment, so they've got to build another shed. So I've got this at home in the meantime. I'll try and do some work on it while I've got it here. I've been trying to fix it up for quite a few years now. It was originally a slant 6 2D5 slant 6 and automatic. It's now going to be a 360 Chrysler V8 small block with a 727 trans in it. It's got a 9-inch diff in the back now, with disc brakes on it. I'm just playing around with the disc brakes at the moment. I actually bought some ED Falcon, Australian Falcon back brakes for it, which is about a 93 or 4 model Ford in Australia, if you're not familiar with it. And it's got disc brakes and it's got the hand brakes on the caliper itself, and I'm just tossing up with whether to try and go to a later one in the late 90s or early 2000s that's actually got a handbrake and a drum inside the disc, just to try and get a little bit of room, because to run these calipers on, I've actually got to run on the top because everything's shortened up so much. It's actually got a shortened 9-inch in it, and if I run them in the standard position, the handbrake lever actually fouls the spring, because I've got it shortened up a bit, probably a bit short. But I'm hoping to find these other calipers and just see if that'll fit. I've got quite a lot of bits and pieces sort of stacked all over the place. I've got a few spares and bits and pieces like heater and a heater core and a few of the inside trim pieces which I've got to tidy up a bit. And this is the inside of the car. Upholstery's in pretty good nick. I actually had most of it repaired probably 10 years ago. 10 years ago. I think I bought it in 2000. This car in 2004, 2005. I can't remember exactly. At that point, the bottom of this front seat was totally destroyed. Really, like, it was not very nice. So the whole bottom of this front seat has been rebuilt. The top half of the front seat has been repaired. Most of it's the original upholstery. And the back of the front seat, this back panel that runs across the back of it has been replaced because somebody had cut it with a knife, put a nice big X mark in it. The back seat's basically original, apart from a couple of panels, and that's basically inside. I'll put some new carpet in it, but yeah, like first I've got to finish off. The black paint you see on the outside is actually over top of basically the original paint. It's had some small repairs in the back quarters at some stage. I think there's actually a bit of rust down in here, but I'll sort that out at some point. And this back corner had been crunched in at some stage and never been repaired very well, and it used to come to about here, and the rest of it had been filled up with body filler. So I actually, a couple of years ago when I was back in New Zealand, I cut unstitched the piece where the tail light goes and just left the outer panel exposed and straightened it out with a bit of heat and a bit of time, and it's actually pretty reasonably close. It's pretty close to the original shape now. Like, it's still a little bit rough, but nothing that a little bit of time and a little bit of body fitter and a good sandbag, and it'll be good as like that. So I've just flicked a wee bit of grey primer over it to protect it in the meantime. There's a little bit of panel damage on this bottom of this door. It's been pushed in at some stage. I don't know, it's got caught on something. before I even bought it, but that's probably about the worst of the panel damage. The front guards are all pretty good. I've actually got them next door, and there's a wood shed in there. And the bonnet's not too bad. I repaired that because it had got sprung and separated the top panel from the bottom panel, so I've repaired that and straightened. There's a dent out in the bonnet. That's about the only actual panel that's not the original panel on it. There's a new alloy radiator there for it. A big 2-core cross-flow radiator to try and get a bit better cooling. I've stripped the paint out of the inside the engine bay. I've still got to clean up a bit right around the bottom yet, but it's all been stripped off and sprayed with, got a good coat of etch primer in there to start off with, because it was pretty scungy, but it was all still the original colour. The original colour was like it's like sort of a baby sort of sky blue, and it had a white top through there. It was just painted white. The main reason why I painted the black over it, because somebody had actually sprayed some primer on the bottom half of it, but when I actually cleaned it back one day when I first got it, and the original paint was there, but it was rubbed so thin that somebody had that's why they put the primer on it, so I just sprayed it black in the meantime, because back in 2007 I actually probably wasn't far away from getting it running at that point, but my circumstances changed quite a lot at that point, and I haven't done a lot since. Motor for it's under here. As I said, it's a 360 Chrysler. I've actually rebuilt it basically. Bottom end it's still stock, but the heads have been quite heavily modified. Bigger valves. The ports have been really heavily, especially on the exhaust side, have been really opened up. Intakes have been tickled up quite a bit, even in around where the valves go, like they've been opened up quite a lot. Yeah, it's got bigger valves on the exhaust side, on the intake side of it. I think the exhaust side's still basically stock size, but really opened up in the chambers. I've got a spare block here, and a new water pump. Here's the trans and torque converter. I'm probably going to have to go through that trans. It's been sitting for a long time, but hopefully it should be okay. All else fails, I'll get a trans build kit from the States for it, and I may have a go south at rebuilding it, because I've got some good books, and I've got a couple of mates that are riding the Valiants, and hopefully might be actually have a go at it and rebuild it myself. But otherwise, I'll get the local shop to do it. But it's going to probably cost me a couple of grand. Grill for it's up there, and over in this cupboard there's a whole lot of bits and pieces for it. Like light surrounds and a radiator, an oil cooler for the trans, and just bits and pieces I've just thrown in here. Another heated core, and some brake parts, and the main caps around the block are sitting there. That's basically all there. I was a brand new distributor, and like an MSD ignition pack and bits and pieces all in there. Brand new alternator for it. Yeah, that's my project. This is a set of stock spare heads I've got for it. So yeah, like these are really closed up compared with the other ones. Like the other ones are just about taken right out to almost the same size of these exhaust flanges that I'm going to build some headers for. So that's my plans with all this sort of stuff. I'll quickly show you the front guards and that. Like there's not much to look at, but you have a quick look. Nice big pile of wood I've been finishing putting in there today. It's front guards. As you can see though, there's a bit of surface on them, but they're pretty clean from an inside point of view. I think the driver's side one's got a little hole. Oh, there we go. That's about the only hole in that driver's car. It's just a little hole where the dirt's been collecting at the top of it. at some point, but the rest of it, like, it's, you know, it's about as clean as the other one, really. Like, very little rust, like, you know, a bit of surface and scale, but generally, like this, like for 1967, it's a real clean car. You know, there's the bonnet and behind. There's a couple of bumpers for it. One was the one that came off it originally. I found a slightly better one, but I will get them re-chromed at some stage. What else have we got here? Oh, that's about it, I think. Yeah, so that's my project I've been working on for a few years now. So hopefully I'm going to get back into it and get right into it now and get it hopefully up and running. Oh, it's probably, you know, going to be another 12 months before I get it running properly. If I can get into it, you know, and get enough spare cash in between doing other things. But yeah, that's my plans. These wheels won't stay on it. These are actually a later model Valiant wheel from about this model. Was it this model or the next model? I can't remember. One of the models after this, they actually changed the stud pattern to a bigger stud pattern. The studs are slightly further out, and this has actually got the later model stud pattern on it because it's got the Ford 9-inch in the back, and it's got the later model brakes on the front. It's got vented disc brakes and calipers off a later model Chrysler or Valiant. About a 73 or 74. I think they're off. So yeah, that's why I've got these other wheels on it, because I wouldn't originally have any of these wheels on it. These are what they call a Pacer Valiant wheel. So yeah, I've just got these on these as rollers at the moment. I did have some nice wheels on it quite a few years ago, because I had another car which was a Valiant Charger coupe fastback sort of thing that I started rebuilding, but the panel beater that was doing some rust repair on it just made an absolute mess, and I gave up on the car. That's where I kept the running gear and bits and pieces of it that I'd started collecting, and bought this as a rolling car, because the guy that had it had blown the trans up in it, and he'd pulled the motor and gearbox out of it. So I bought the rest of the car and took some bits off my other car that I had. That's where I got the front brakes from, and put the 9-inch in it, you know, and got it home, and yeah, I've been working on it ever since. I've got a whole bootload of stuff and bits and pieces in here, but I haven't got the keys are inside, so I won't show you in there in the meantime. You know, over the years I've had a bit of fun trying to find all the badges on the back, because this Valiant was missing, but I've managed to acquire that again over the years. I've got the chrome for around the tail light on this side. I just haven't got it on there since I repaired that. It's got chrome on there. It's actually meant to be a little chrome ring around there. I've got one little chrome ring. I might try and find another one day. Bumper's not in bad nick, it's not perfect. The car won't ever be a perfect car, but it'll be a real good cruiser. I'd like to find another diff head for it, or eventually, because the gears in this are really, really tall. They're 2.5 to 1, which is like that engine's maximum RPM, which is with the combination that's in it, you know, it'll probably pull close to 7,000 RPMs and like on a good day. So this thing at top gear doing that's like way over 200 miles an hour. So like it's sort of a bit ridiculous, but it'll be real good cruising diff if it pulls it okay. It should do, because it's going to be about 400 odd horsepower in theory, with the cam and the headwork and the intake manifold and everything I've got for it. So yeah, it should be, you know, a bit over 400 horse or thereabouts. So it should push that big ratio quite well, but like it'll never be like a drag car. So I'd like to get another diff head for it, and you know, do a wee bit of drag racing in it, get something that's a bit lower geared. So you know, instead of capable of doing 200 miles an hour plus, and might be, you know, but I do 120 miles an hour, which is quite nice for down the drag strip. So it'll rev out and go quite quick. So that's my plans anyway. So this is my, I suppose it's not my new project, but it's my, my new project again, along with the trains. So I'm still working on the trains. I haven't done much because I've been so busy with work, but that's now backed off. Over here we've been shifting a lot of young male calves that they don't use for the dairy industry. They go to the meat work, so I drive trucks. So that's what we've been doing for the last few weeks, is just picking them up aimlessly from about 6 o'clock in the morning till a bit after midday, and then do the odd job after that. And so yeah, it's been 6 days a week up until the last sort of week, and then it's just dropped down to 4, so 4 days a week. So I've got a little bit of time now, but yeah, it's a matter of just having enough money as well to do what I want to do on it. So I thought I'd just do this video for you and let you know what I've been up to since I haven't posted anything for ages. Let's give you another quick look inside. Yeah, it's inside. I've got a lot of wiring and stuff to tidy up. It's all just sitting there. That mess on the floors, a lot of the wiring from the engine bay, I've just pulled it back through the firewall. Yeah, like all the steering wheels all original and all that stuff. I have got the armrests off the doors. They're really hard to get for these because they get smashed. I've got 4 reasonable ones which I'm going to try and repair up a bit so I can put the armrest back in it. This is sort of a lower spec of this version of car. There was a one that had like a nice console through the centre and had bucket seats in the front and a semi-split back seat that had like a nice big armrest in the middle, but I'm not worried about that. It's a, it's not going to be a super flash car, but it's going to be nice. I'll repaint the dash and tidy all that up. I've got a couple extra gauges for it as well, sitting in boxes, like a rev counter, and I think I've got an oil pressure gauge and a decent water temperature gauge, so I can keep an eye on the motor. Like the money I've sort of spent on things, you don't really want to think. Like I've got the inside of the glove box to put back in it because I've got that out with taking the heater out. But look, everything all works quite nice and tidy. Like the doors all close real good. It looks real nice. Like the closes really good. And I had a few issues with this back one because it had actually frozen there for sitting, so but I've managed to get that all freed up, and it's it closes beautifully. Like modern cars don't close like these old girls. Like everybody thinks these things are big and heavy, but this actually probably weighs less than the old Honda station wagon out there, which is from the about 2000, whenever it is. Like it's actually like in full V8 trim, it's actually lighter than that. All the modern electronics just weigh the modern cars down. Like these are a bit heavier in the panels, but generally like there's nothing. Like these, probably 20 wires in the thing to run it. Most of it's probably lights, and a couple to the dash. So, but it'll be a real good cruiser when I've got it finished. Doors, they all close nice. And I've got, upgraded the brakes, so I want to try and suss out, see if I can get these later model brakes, which at the time when I'd done this conversion, like the ones that that I probably should have used were, the cars were too new, and you would just pay through the nose for the brake setup, but that was sort of what was available at the time, without going buying brand new, $3,000 or $4,000 conversion kit to do something. I was trying to use something that was off a late model car that was readily accessible with brake pads and brake rotors. If you've started doing big miles and the thing and wore something out, you knew you could at least get a replacement. The other thing I'm looking at too is a later model Toyota 4-wheel drive Surfs that had the 3-litre turbo diesel in them from the sort of mid-90s. they got a 4-piston caliper which virtually bolts straight up to the Valiant hub and stub. Like it's so close, it's silly. I think you got to do a little bit of fine adjustment just on the offset where the caliper fits over the disc, and they basically go straight over the Valiant disc. So I'm looking at doing that too if I can find a set. I know whether there is a set attached to a truck that's got a blown up motor in it, but as to whether I can get the guy to part the thing out, because he's, you know, still a year later and deciding whether he's going to fix the truck or not, because it's not a bad looking truck, but it's done quite a lot of Ks too. So if I can get the calipers off it, I'll be quite happy too, because that would give me 4-piston calipers in the front, which is a huge upgrade from the old drums. And yeah, disc brakes in the back. I'll probably won't be able to run a booster on this because it's got quite a large cam, so I won't want to run enough vacuum. But also I'll just run manual brakes. But I've been to all the research, and I think that should probably work better, because if you go put a booster on, a boosted brakes on these things, you've got to have such a big booster to get enough vacuum to get them actually work properly. So you actually end up with better feeling brakes than you would. So that'll do for now, guys. And sorry about the light shining in, the bright light coming in from outside. So it just gives you a bit of glare, but yeah, like you can see, yeah, that's the other thing too. I've got to get a conversion kit to put the motor in, since this was a 6-cylinder to the V8, but I can get a kit for that, a couple of $100 from Australia, and then everything bolts straight in. But yeah, that's all for now. So as I'm doing a bit, I'll throw a few videos of this up as well, and I'll try and do a bit more on the trains. I haven't done anything on it for ages. I've been sort of to and from what I've been doing, and just trying to get organised again with being so busy. Alrighty guys, I'll leave you to it, and we'll see you later on.